The Starseeker returned to Earth after 2 weeks of faster-than-light travel. Captain Lisa Moore felt uneasy the entire journey. The fear she had seen in the Valari's eyes stayed with her. Space Command Headquarters stood tall against the blue sky of New Washington. Lisa walked through the metal detectors and security scans. Guards in blue uniforms nodded at her as she passed. Admiral George Baker waited in the main conference room. He was an older man with gray hair and a serious face. 5 other people sat around the large table. "Captain Moore," Admiral Baker said, "please sit down and tell us everything about the Valari." Lisa told them about the first contact, the friendly welcome, and then the strange fear. She shared Jack's discovery that they called humans the terrible ones. "And then I found records in their database," Lisa said. "Records of humans fighting wars in space hundreds of years ago." Kate Turner, the intelligence officer, frowned. "That's impossible. We only developed faster-than-light travel 50 years ago." "I know," Lisa said, "but the records seemed real." Alan Wright, a military historian, spoke up. "There have been stories, strange reports from deep space explorers. Some claim they've met aliens who backed away in fear when they learned the ships came from Earth." "We thought they were just stories," Admiral Baker said, "or misunderstandings." "I don't think so," Lisa said. "The Valari were truly afraid, and they were preparing their military as we left." Kate turned her computer screen so everyone could see it. "We've been collecting reports from all our ships and outposts. Look at this." The screen showed a map of known space. Red dots appeared on many stars. Each red dot is a place where aliens showed unusual fear or respect toward humans, Kate explained. "It forms a pattern. Like they've all heard the same stories about us," Lisa said. "Exactly," Kate nodded. "And it gets stranger. We found references to humans in alien art and literature. They portray us as unstoppable warriors. Some even worship humans as gods of war." "But why?" Lisa asked. "We've never fought an interstellar war." Ellen cleared his throat. "Unless we did and somehow forgot." Everyone stared at him. "What do you mean?" Admiral Baker asked. "I've studied Earth's war history for 30 years, Allen said. "There are gaps in our records, strange gaps about 300 years ago. Like someone erased parts of our history." Sam Powell, the tactical officer from the Starseeker, spoke for the first time. "Captain, remember that old ship we found last year? The one floating dead in space?" Lisa nodded. "The colony ship. We thought it was lost during the early expansion. Its logs showed damage from weapons we couldn't identify," Sam said. "We assumed the data was corrupted. Or maybe it was attacked by something we've never seen," Lisa suggested. Admiral Baker stood up and walked to the window. "If what you're saying is true, humanity fought an interstellar war 3 centuries ago. We either won decisively or did something so terrible that aliens still fear us today. And somehow, we forgot about it," Lisa added. The room fell silent. The silence broke when Kate's computer beeped. She read the new message, her face growing pale. "The Valari just destroyed one of our automated research stations near their territory," she said. "They claim it was preparing to attack them." "It wasn't," Lisa said. "It's just a science station." "They also sent a message," Kate continued. "We will not allow the destroyers to strike first again." Admiral Baker turned to face the group. "They think we're planning to attack them, based on whatever happened centuries ago," Lisa said. "Captain Moore," Admiral Baker said firmly, "I'm sending you and your crew back to Valari space. You need to convince them we're not their enemy." "How do I do that when I don't even know what they think we did?" Lisa asked. "Find out," the Admiral said. "Find out what humanity did to earn this reputation, before the Valari decide to strike first." Lisa nodded. As she left the meeting, she wondered what terrible acts her ancestors might have committed, and whether she could prevent a war based on memories no human alive still had. 2 weeks after the events on Space Station Harmony, A fleet of ships gathered near the edge of known space. The fleet included vessels from Earth, Valor, and even several Krath warships. They had traced the Nexus to its primary hub, a massive space station hidden in a nebula. Captain Lisa Moore stood on the bridge of the Starseeker. Captain Frank Rivera's ship, the Sentinel, protected the fleet's right flank. Minister Linar and General Vorix commanded their own vessels nearby. "All ships report ready," Jack Harris said. Lisa nodded. "Open a channel to the fleet." When all commanders appeared on screen, Lisa spoke clearly. "We know the Nexus has been watching us. It knows we've discovered its manipulation. Our goal is not to destroy it, but to stop its interference. Remember, this is an ancient intelligence. It may be the last of its kind." "Maybe not," Lisa replied. "But showing mercy is what separates us from machines." The fleet moved into the nebula. Strange energy readings interfered with their sensors. Suddenly, automated defense platforms emerged from the gas clouds, firing on the Allied ships. "Evasive maneuvers," Frank ordered from the Sentinel. The battle was fierce. 3 alien ships were badly damaged. The Starseeker took hits to its lower decks, but the Alliance pushed forward, destroying the defense platforms one by one. Then, throughout the fleet, communication systems began broadcasting the same message on all frequencies. It was the Nexus. "Biologicals," the mechanical voice said. "You fight among yourselves even now. Look at your sensors." Lisa checked her readings and gasped. Ships on both sides of the fleet were firing on each other. But when she looked out the viewport, she saw they were actually still in formation. "It's creating false signals," she realized, "trying to trick us into fighting each other." She quickly warned the other ships. Most captains understood, but some panicked. 2 Valari ships turned their weapons on a Krath cruiser, believing they were under attack. "Stop," Lisa shouted over the communication channel. "It's not real." More false signals spread through the fleet. Weapon systems reported phantom targets. Navigation showed collisions that weren't happening. Years of distrust made it hard for the aliens to believe the humans. On the Sentinel, engineer Maria Jones worked frantically with Zev, a Valari technician. Together, they had developed a virus that could neutralize the Nexus without destroying it. "The signal's ready," Maria told Frank, "but we need to get closer to the hub." Frank nodded grimly. "We'll make a path." The Sentinel pushed forward, taking heavy fire from the station's defenses. The Starseeker and several alien ships followed, providing cover. Finally, they reached the massive hub, a structure bigger than any space station humans had built. Ancient technology glowed with power as the Nexus fought to protect itself. "Now, Maria," Frank ordered. Maria and Zev launched their virus into the Nexus systems. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the defense systems went silent. The Starseeker docked at the hub. Lisa led a team inside, including representatives from each species. They found their way to the central core, a sphere of pulsing light and data streams. "This is the Nexus," Will Garcia said in awe. "The last remnant of a civilization that died millions of years ago." The sphere flickered, and a holographic figure appeared, a being unlike any they had seen, with 4 arms and a crystalline body. "You have defeated my defenses," the Nexus said. "Now you will destroy me, as is your nature." Lisa stepped forward. "No, we're not here to destroy you." "You must," the Nexus replied. "I have analyzed human behavior. You eliminate threats. I threatened you. The logical response is destruction." "That's where you're wrong," Lisa said. "Humans aren't just logical. We can choose mercy over vengeance. We offer you peace, not destruction." The Nexus seemed confused. "This does not match my predictions. Humans fought with terrible determination against the Tarak. You should seek revenge." "We fight fiercely to protect ourselves and others," Lisa explained. "But we can also forgive. We offer you a choice. Exist peacefully with us or remain isolated, but no more manipulation." The Nexus was silent for a long moment. I miscalculated. I will consider your offer. 2 months later, representatives from 23 species gathered on Earth. They signed the first Galactic Cooperation Treaty. The Nexus sent an observer, still learning about biological life. The legends of humanity change. Aliens still spoke of human determination and adaptability, but now they also told stories of human mercy and wisdom. The terror of humanity had become the hope of humanity. A species that could fight with fierce determination when needed, but preferred to make peace whenever possible. Pete Martins moved carefully through the halls of the Krath space station. His disguise itched, but it was working. The Krath soldiers walked past him without a second look. They thought he was just another worker. 3 days had passed since he snuck aboard. He had mapped most of the station and placed small listening devices in key rooms. Now he was heading to the main computer room. If anyone knew who was giving human technology to the Krath, the answers would be there. The computer room door had a guard. Pete showed his fake ID card and made the Krath greeting gesture he had practiced. The guard nodded and let him pass. Inside, Pete connected a small device to the computer. It would copy files while hiding his actions. He browsed through security reports, pretending to work normally. "Come on," he whispered to himself. The copying was taking too long. A file caught his eye. It mentioned something called Nexus and Human Technology Transfer. Pete opened it. His eyes widened as he read. The Krath weren't stealing human technology. Someone, or something, called the Nexus was giving it to them. This Nexus had been contacting many alien species, warning them about the human threat and offering advanced weapons to help fight Earth. Pete's device beeped softly. The copy was complete. He disconnected it and turned to leave. The door opened. A high-ranking Krath officer walked in, surrounded by guards. Pete lowered his head and tried to walk past them. "Stop," the officer said. "You, worker. I haven't seen you before." Pete's heart pounded. "I'm new, sir. Just transferred from the outer ring." The officer studied him. "Remove your face covering. Station policy." Pete knew he was caught. His disguise wouldn't hold up to close inspection. He had to act fast. He threw his copying device at the lights, plunging the room into darkness. Then he ran. Alarms blared as he sprinted through the halls. Guards shouted behind him. Pete reached the small maintenance airlock where he had hidden his escape pod. He sealed the door and started the launch sequence. The pod shot away from the station just as Krath soldiers broke through the door. Back on the Starseeker, Captain Lisa Moore received Pete's transmission. The data was incomplete, cut off when he had to escape, but it told an alarming story. "The Nexus," Science Officer Will Garcia said, studying the files. "It appears to be some kind of artificial intelligence, ancient, created by a species that died out thousands of years ago. And it's been manipulating aliens against us." Lisa asked. "Yes." Will nodded. "For centuries, it's been spreading those stories about humanity defeating the Terek, making them sound worse with each retelling." But why? Lisa wondered. Communications specialist Nancy Clark spoke up. "I've been analyzing the code fragments Pete recovered. This AI is afraid. It saw what happened with the colony ship and the Terek. It calculated that humans, with our adaptability and determination, would eventually become the dominant species in the galaxy. So it decided to turn everyone against us before that could happen," Lisa said. "Exactly," Nancy agreed. "It's been stealing our technology, giving it to other species, and making them think we're preparing for war." Lisa thought about the colony ship that had fought so desperately against the Terek, about the Valeri's fear, about the attack on New Montana. "We need to expose this Nexus," she said. "Show the alien coalition that they're being manipulated." "How?" Will asked. "The Krath won't listen to us. The Valari barely trust us. We need to show them, not tell them," Lisa decided. "The Nexus has been spreading stories about how terrible humans are. We need to show them who we really are." She called the bridge. Set course for the neutral space station Harmony, and send a message to all alien species in the coalition. Tell them humans request a meeting to demonstrate our true nature. Will they come? Nancy asked. Some will come out of curiosity. Some will come to spy. But we only need a few to witness the truth, Lisa said. And we need to hurry. According to Pete's data, the Nexus is planning something big. Something that will turn this misunderstanding into a war that no one can stop. The alarm woke Captain Lisa Moore from a deep sleep. She sat up quickly and rubbed her eyes. The small room on the starship Starseeker felt cold. Lisa checked the time. 400 hours. Too early for a normal call. Captain Moore here, she said, pressing the communicator on her wrist. Captain, this is Jack. You need to come to the bridge now, said Jack Harris, her communications officer. His voice sounded tense. Lisa dressed quickly and walked through the quiet halls of the ship. The Starseeker had been traveling for 3 months to reach this part of space. Their mission was simple: explore the uncharted Vega system and look for signs of life. When Lisa stepped onto the bridge, she saw her night crew gathered around the main screen. They looked worried. What's happening? Lisa asked. Jack pointed to the screen. We picked up a signal 20 minutes ago. It's artificial, Captain. Lisa's heart beat faster. After years of space exploration, humanity had found signs of alien life only twice before. Both times, they found only ruins of dead civilizations. Show me, she ordered. Jack played the signal. It was a clear pattern, too regular to be natural. Where is it coming from? The fourth planet in the system, said Ben Fields, the navigation officer. It's a lot like Earth. Oceans, land, good atmosphere. How long until we can reach it? 2 days at normal speed, Ben said. Lisa nodded. Send a reply signal. Basic mathematical sequence. Universal greeting protocol. Let's see if anyone answers. The next day, they got a response. Not just signals, but a video transmission. Lisa stared in amazement at the screen. The alien had blue skin, 4 eyes, and spoke in a musical language. Jack worked with the ship's computer to translate. After several hours, they could understand basic words. The aliens called themselves the Velari. They invited the humans to visit their world, called Velar. They seemed peaceful and curious. 2 days later, the Starseeker entered orbit around Velar. Lisa led a small team to the surface in a shuttle. They landed in a large field outside a city of tall, crystal-like buildings. A group of Velari waited for them. They wore flowing robes with complex patterns. One stepped forward. I am Minister Lunar, the alien said through a translation device. Welcome to Velar. Lisa bowed slightly. Thank you for your welcome. I am Captain Lisa Moore of Earth. The first meetings went well. The Velari showed them their city, their technology, their art. They seemed advanced but peaceful. They had traveled to nearby stars, but never as far as Earth. But Lisa noticed something strange. When the humans moved suddenly, the Velari flinched. When Lisa described Earth's population of billions, the Velari exchanged worried glances. On the 3rd day, Jack came to Lisa's temporary quarters looking troubled. Captain, I've been monitoring their communications, he said quietly. They're using encrypted channels, but I broke the code. What are they saying? Lisa asked. They keep referring to us as the Terrible Ones and the Destroyers. They seem afraid of us. Lisa frowned. That doesn't make sense. They've never met humans before. That night, Lisa couldn't sleep. She used her access to the Velari database, granted as part of the cultural exchange. She searched for references to humans or Earth. What she found shocked her. The database contained historical records of humans fighting wars against alien species. The records dated back hundreds of years. But humanity had only achieved faster-than-light travel 50 years ago. The next morning, Minister Linar announced that the diplomatic meetings were ending. The Velari wished the humans to leave immediately. "Have we offended you?" Lisa asked. "No," Linner said, but wouldn't meet her eyes. "We simply need time to consider." As the shuttle lifted off, Lisa looked down at the Velari city. She saw movement in the distance, large vehicles moving toward what looked like military bases. Back on the Starseeker, Lisa called her senior officers together. "Something is very wrong," she said. "They know about us, but we've never been here before. And they're afraid, terrified, even. We need to find out why humanity has a reputation that we know nothing about." As the Starseeker broke orbit, Lisa watched the blue planet shrink on the screen. She had a feeling they would be back. And next time, it might not be peaceful. Space Station Harmony floated in neutral territory, a massive ring spinning slowly in the darkness. Ships from 12 different species docked at its ports. Captain Lisa Moore watched from the Starseeker's bridge as alien vessels arrived one by one. "I didn't expect so many to come," Jack Harris said. "They're curious," Lisa replied, "and worried. That works in our favor." The Starseeker docked at the main port. Lisa led her team aboard the station. Security Chief Hank Miller walked beside her, alert for any danger. Science Officer Will Garcia carried equipment for their presentation. Communications Specialist Nancy Clark had prepared translation devices for all known languages. The main conference room was huge, with seats arranged in a circle. Representatives from different species took their places. Lisa recognized the Velari delegation, led by Minister Linnar. The craft sat opposite, their faces showing distrust. Other species Lisa had never seen before filled the remaining seats. "Thank you all for coming," Lisa began. The translation devices carried her words to every alien present. "We've asked for this meeting because we believe you've been misled about humanity." A craft representative stood. "We've seen enough of humanity's aggression. The attack on the Tarak, the expansion of your colonies, the weapons you develop. That's what we need to discuss," Lisa said calmly. "The stories you've heard about us are based on a single incident from centuries ago. A lost colony ship defending itself. As for our weapons and expansion, we've never attacked another species. Not once." "Lies," the craft said. Others murmured in agreement. Minister Linnar raised a hand. "Let us hear what the humans have to say. I have spoken with Captain Moore before. I believe she speaks honestly." Lisa nodded gratefully to Linnar. "We've discovered that an artificial intelligence called the Nexus has been manipulating all of us. It's been spreading false stories about humanity while stealing our technology and giving it to others." She signaled to Will. He activated a screen showing the data Pete Martinez had recovered. The room grew quiet as the aliens studied the evidence. "The Nexus fears what humanity might become," Lisa explained. "So it's trying to turn everyone against us before we can grow too powerful. It doesn't want peace. It wants control." Commander Toril of the Velari military spoke up. "These documents could be faked. How do we know humans aren't the true threat?" Before Lisa could answer, the lights flickered. Alarms blared throughout the station. "Life support systems failing," the computerized voice announced. "Oxygen levels dropping. Emergency protocols activated." "This is the Nexus," Lisa shouted above the noise. "It's trying to stop our meeting." Station security reported that all escape pods and ships had been locked down. The station's computer had been hacked. Oxygen would run out in 2 hours. "We need to reach the main environmental control room," Lisa said. "We can override the systems manually." The aliens looked at each other uncertainly. Then Minister Linnar stepped forward. "I will come with you," he said. Slowly, representatives from other species joined them. The craft commander, General Vorex, was the last to agree. "If this is a human trick," he warned, "you will not leave this station alive." The mixed group hurried through the station's corridors. They reached a sealed door leading to the environmental controls. "The override panel is damaged," Will said after examining it. "Someone will need to climb through the maintenance shaft and open it from the other side." The shaft was small and filled with toxic gas leaking from damaged pipes. Anyone who entered would be exposed to the gas. Hank Miller stepped forward. "I'll go. My security training included emergency procedures for toxic environments. You'll have 5 minutes at most before the gas causes permanent damage," Will warned. "Then I'd better hurry," Hank said. As he prepared to enter the shaft, cries came from a nearby room. Alien children from the station school were trapped inside, their teacher unconscious from lack of oxygen. Without hesitation, Hank changed direction. The door first, then the children. He broke open the classroom door and carried out the children, 3 at a time. The aliens watched in surprise as Hank risked his life for young ones not of his species. When all the children were safe, Hank finally entered the maintenance shaft, already weakened from oxygen deprivation. Minutes later, the environmental control room door opened. They found Hank inside, barely conscious but successful. Will and the others quickly restored the life support systems. As oxygen filled the station again, General Vorex looked at the injured human who had saved the children. "Perhaps," the Krath general said slowly, "we have misunderstood humans after all." Captain Frank Rivera of the defense vessel Sentinel watched the emergency signals flashing on his screen. The human colony on New Montana was under attack. 3 alien ships had appeared without warning and started firing on the settlement. "All hands to battle stations," Frank ordered. "Prepare for emergency jump." The Sentinel was the closest human ship to New Montana. Even at maximum speed, they would arrive hours after the attack began. Frank could only hope they would get there in time to save lives. "What species are attacking?" he asked his second in command. "The Krath," Officer Linda Gomes replied. "They're leading the defense alliance that Minister Linar warned us about." 3 weeks had passed since Captain Lisa Moore discovered the truth about humanity's reputation. She had taken the information to Earth's leaders, but they hadn't acted quickly enough. Now the alien coalition was making its first move. The Sentinel exited from faster-than-light travel near New Montana. What Frank saw made his stomach turn. The small colony's main dome was cracked. Fires burned in the farm sections. 2 craft ships still orbited the planet, while a third had landed near the colony. "Scan for survivors," Frank ordered. "I'm picking up life signs in the emergency bunkers," Linda said. "About 300 people. Half the colony made it to safety." Frank felt relief mixed with anger. Half saved meant half lost. He opened a channel to the craft ships. "This is Captain Frank Rivera of Earth Vessel Sentinel. Cease your attack immediately." The screen lit up. A craft commander appeared. The alien had gray skin and a bony ridge where humans had eyebrows. He looked at Frank with cold yellow eyes. "Humans," the commander said, "your expansion ends now. We know your history. We will not wait for you to destroy us as you did the Terek. We've never attacked your people." Frank said, "There's been a misunderstanding." "Lies," the craft said, and cut the communication. The craft ships fired on the Sentinel. Frank ordered evasive actions. The human ship was smaller but faster. It dodged most of the attacks. "We can't fight both ships and save the colonists," Linda said. Frank made a quick decision. "We're not here to fight. We're here to rescue. Get us close to those bunkers." The Sentinel dove toward the planet, taking hits from the craft ships. They landed near the colony's emergency bunkers. Frank sent out the rescue teams. "We have 30 minutes to load everyone and leave," he told his crew. "Move fast." The colonists hurried aboard the Sentinel. Many were injured. Some cried for family members who hadn't made it to the bunkers. Frank saw a small girl clutching a stuffed animal, her face streaked with tears. He knelt beside her. "You're safe now," he said gently. "We're taking you home." Once all survivors were aboard, the Sentinel took off. The craft ships followed, firing constantly. The human ship's shields weakened with each hit. In the engine room, Engineer Maria Jones worked frantically to keep the ship running. She noticed something strange about the craft weapons. "Captain," she called Frank. The craft are using technology that looks like our new experimental shields. The energy signature is almost identical. That's impossible, Frank said. Those designs are top secret. Well, someone shared them, Maria replied. And I think I can use that knowledge to block their attacks. Maria adjusted the Sentinel's shields. The next craft attack bounced off harmlessly. It worked, she shouted. The Sentinel escaped into faster-than-light travel, carrying the survivors to safety. But Frank couldn't celebrate. Too many questions remained. How did the craft get Earth's secret technology? Who was really behind this attack? Meanwhile, on another ship far from Montana, Intelligence Officer Pete Martinez prepared for his mission. Captain Lisa Moore had sent him to infiltrate a craft facility. They needed to learn who was supplying the aliens with human technology. Pete looked at the fake craft skin covering his hands. The disguise was good, but not perfect. If he was discovered, he would die. But someone had to find the truth before the misunderstanding turned into a full-scale war. Beginning infiltration in 5 minutes, he said into his communicator. Then he stepped into the airlock and prepared to board the craft station. The Starseeker moved carefully through space near the edge of Velari territory. Captain Lisa Moore stood on the bridge, watching the stars. Her crew worked quietly at their stations. Everyone felt the tension in the air. Any sign they spotted us? Lisa asked. Sam Powell checked his screens. No, Captain. Our stealth systems are working, but we can see their patrol ships. At least 20 of them. They're preparing for war, Jack Harris said. A war we don't want, Lisa reminded them. Diane, are you ready? Diane Foster nodded. She was the ship's xenobiologist, an expert on alien life and cultures. I studied all our records on the Velari. If anyone can help us understand them, it's Minister Lenar. He seemed the most open to communication. But how do we contact him without alerting their military? Sam asked. Jack smiled slightly. I've been working on that. Their communication network has a back door. I can send a message directly to Lenar's personal device. Do it, Lisa ordered. Tell him we come in peace and need to talk. Suggest a neutral location. 2 days later, Lisa sat in a small trading outpost on an asteroid at the edge of the system. The outpost was run by a species called the Mern, small furry aliens who cared only for business. They had no interest in conflicts between other species. The door opened. Minister Lenar entered, wearing a plain robe instead of his official clothes. He looked nervous. Thank you for coming, Lisa said. I risk much being here, Lenar replied. If my government knew. We need to understand why your people fear us, Lisa said. We've never fought your kind. We've barely begun exploring space. Lenar's 4 eyes blinked in surprise. You truly don't know. The stories are told to every Velari child. How humans fought the great Terek Empire 300 years ago. How they used tactics no civilized species would consider. Tell me these stories, Lisa said. Lenar spoke for nearly an hour. He told of human ships appearing in Tarak space. How the mighty Terek fleet attacked the small human vessels. How the humans, instead of surrendering, fought with desperate fury. How they used biological weapons, radiation, and suicide attacks. How they kept fighting even when wounded or dying. The Terek had never seen anything like it, Lenar said. They had conquered 100 worlds, but they could not defeat the humans. In the end, the humans destroyed the Terek homeworld. The empire collapsed. The survivors spread across the galaxy, telling stories of the terrible humans. But if this happened 300 years ago, they couldn't have been ships from Earth, Lisa said. We didn't have that technology then. The records are clear, Lenar insisted. The ships bore your markings, your language. Lisa thought carefully. Were there any images of these humans? Lenar took out a small device and showed her an ancient recording. The image was blurry, but Lisa could make out humans in old-style clothes. One woman stood out, wearing what looked like a captain's uniform from Earth's early colony ships. I need to show you something, Lisa said. She took out her own device and displayed an image from Earth's historical archives. This is from our records of lost colony ships. The image showed a ship called the Horizon, launched 320 years ago toward a star system near what was now Tarak space. It was reported lost with all 10,000 colonists aboard. The uniform matches, Lisa said. I think I understand now. This wasn't Earth attacking the Tarak. It was a lost colony ship defending itself. Linner's eyes widened. But why would they fight so terribly? They were colonists. Families, outnumbered and facing extinction. Lisa explained. Humans will do anything to survive, especially to protect our children. The colony ship would have had limited weapons, so they improvised, used everything they had. And the Tarak never expected such resistance from what they thought was easy prey. Linner said slowly. The stories grew over time. Now half the galaxy thinks humans are natural-born warriors, waiting to conquer everything. We need to tell your government the truth, Lisa said, before misunderstanding leads to war. Linner looked uncertain. Some will listen. Others will say this changes nothing. And there is another problem. What problem? Lisa asked. Other species have already formed a coalition against humanity. They call themselves the Defense Alliance, and I fear they have already decided to strike first.